Every Sunday, my husband and I sit down for a money chat. I know that's not sexy, but it's been wildly useful.
No, I actually love that because I feel like I'm at the age where I'm like, okay, I need to stop guessing where my money's going.
Yes, and that's exactly where Pocketsmith helps. You can track what you spend and earn, categorize and label spending, set up budgets, and view your finances in a calendar and actually forecast your cash flow up to 60 years into the future. And for neurodivergent brains, that flexibility matters. Sometimes you don't need more willpower, you need a system that makes the information easier to see.
So, whatever your goals, like saving, paying things down, or just trying not to spend your whole salary on takeaway, Pocketsmith allows you to easily track and measure your money and get to enjoy the process of building toward your financial goals.
If you'd like to manage your money like a pro, Pocketsmith has a special deal for the Climb listeners. Get 50% off your first 2 months of Pocketsmith's foundation plan. To get your deal, go to pocketsmith.com/the-climb-podcast. See our show notes for more details. We're recording this episode on the beautiful, unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We want to express our gratitude for being able to create this podcast on this land, and we pay our respects to their enduring culture and connection to country. We recognise that sovereignty was never ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Welcome to The Climb, a podcast about the messy, brilliant, relentless journey of building something meaningful. As an introvert who believes in adding value, not noise, every 40-minute conversation is built to respect your time, but also actually teach you something useful.
Hello, everybody. I am going to break the fourth wall here a little bit and let you know that we are recording just after we have released episode 1 and 2. And Cherie, we've kind of been overwhelmed, would you say? Is that fair enough or understatement?
Understatement of the century. We were saying, weren't we, how grateful we are that we're recording as a season, so therefore batching. And we've now experienced the genuine, borderline overwhelming joy of having feedback on the first couple of episodes by the time we're now recording this one. And I don't know about you, but the DMs are DMing, the
Yeah.
feedback is feedbacking, and it's just bloody beautiful.
Yeah, we're so grateful for everyone who has sent a message and listened to the first 2 eps. I think everyone just fell in love with how vulnerable you were with telling that story, Cherie. And we wanted to do a little bit of a follow up, I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, this episode could definitely stand on its own, but it also just feels like the most beautiful follow up to episodes 1 and 2. And so we want to talk to, okay, you've climbed. What are those habits in founders that, keep you on the island side rather than tunnel of shit side? So my first question for you, Cherie, is thinking about that version of you who was in the thick of a really deep climb
Yeah.
or steep.
Both.
Yeah,
Deep
both.
and deep.
And shitty.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that old version of you now?
Yeah, I'm proud of her. I'm honestly so proud of her. I'm aware so much that we can only grow through what we go through. You know what I mean? So for me, I definitely grew through what I went through. Some people don't honestly grow through going through. So I already think it's one of my favorite things about myself. Like, I won't just go through something, I'll freaking grow through it as well. And for me, the biggest shift has been just landing on, you know, calm instead of chaos. I've always been someone who prefers, calm over chaos. And I, as a personality type, I guess, I'm an introvert. I'm a demand avoidant autistic woman. So I have to be really honest with you. I've always shied away from really chaotic people. They honestly terrify me, and I don't mean that in a judgmental way. It's just who I am as a person. Like, my nervous system just doesn't seem to be able to cope with a whole lot of chaos, especially if it's a choice. The thing about that, though, is, and the thing about founderhood is, you can just get plunged into chaos even if it's not your preferred state of mind slash being. And so when I was in my tunnel of shit era, it felt like, I hate this almost forced chaos, when that's just not how I roll. I think in those early days of that, especially that climb, it was just more reactive leadership because I was still learning. It was fast, parts of it, many parts were messy. Now I'm so much slower. Like, it's like my autistic brain has the ability, if you think about like the hare and the tortoise, right? My brain wants to go at hare speed, but it's a choice for me now to be tortoise.
Mm.
I just prefer tortoise speed. I'm responsible for so many more people now. We've been growing. Don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, I noticed. We don't have any desks left.
Oh my goodness, we don't. Thank God for those 15
Bean
freaking
bags.
bean bags as we look around and look at them. That's your desk. But
Welcome.
exactly, my brain is hair speed, but turtle is a choice, tortoise is a choice. I love being there, and I think people are relying on me to be less reactive and chaos and so on. I'm really proud of that growth. So I wanted to ask you, like, more like not a question, but just a thinking statement, Steph. Like, have you ever noticed, that some of the strongest people you've hung around and enjoyed their presence, they don't overreact? When I share that, do
Yes.
you think of a certain person in your mind that you just kind of look up to? That's why I really look up to Jacinda Ardern. It's also why I look up
Mm.
to my dad. Like, you can just say so much more with less,
Yep.
and so I want to hope that that's a little more. I'm not Jacinda and I'm definitely not Shane. I'm Cherie, but that's me now coming just
Yeah.
home, I would say, Steph. It wasn't me always, unfortunately. I'd say that's, part personality. Like, I want to stay in the calm over the chaos just through a PDA profile, but also my upbringing. I was raised by one of the most calm, regulated human beings I've literally ever met. I'm 43 years old today at the time of recording. And
Gosh, for a second I thought you meant it was your birthday and
oh
I
my
genuinely
God.
nearly died. I'm gonna have to watch me back on the video because I was like, what?
That's hilarious. That's me bringing chaos, unnecessary chaos into your beautiful little world.
And I know it can't be your birthday because our birthdays are very close. So,
We are. No, not today, but I'm 43 years old at the
Ooh.
time of recording. And I think I was trying to think about this before I got into this podcast. I think I've only ever had my dad raise his voice at me 3 times.
Mm.
He still commanded such a strong presence in our home. We look up to him, we respect him, but he's only raised his voice 3 times. And all of those 3 times, I completely deserved it. I was being a complete asshole. So I also think, like, those people who rarely overreact, part of it is all of what I've shared. Like, it's, your personal preferences and so on, but it's definitely also training. So I've had to learn, through what our folks would have heard in episode 1 and 2, how to stay centered when things feel like they're falling apart. Because if you can't stay centered, you're going to take your team on the worst ride that they never signed up for. And that is not fair. Nobody is remunerated enough to go on a bullshit founder ride. It's not a magical carpet ride. It's I don't know what, are we allowed to say an acid trip or something? Like, as a girl who's never
Sure.
used anything illicit in her life, I'm imagining it would be like that. I also don't pretend things are fine. I refuse to let chaos own me now. I've got a little bit, I guess, control-y with that. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get owned by this. Like, I'm going to own the chaos instead. And that's like a decision. I also refuse to be owned by someone else's chaos. There's people that just suck you into their
Mm.
bullshit worlds. I just don't want to do that. And it's the reason why, as I've realized, by neurotype, personality, upbringing, positive influences in my life, like my dad, I perform best when I'm at peace. And the better my mental state, I would say the sharper my decision making is. And I really owe it to my team to be in a really good mental state. So leaning into people's chaos, just it's never going to get me there. And then also choosing chaos as a lifestyle choice, as a founder, is never ever going to get the best out of my beautiful team. The people addicted to chaos, they're addicted to that because it's all they know.
Mm.
So they actually sabotage peace, either their own and especially the peace of those around them. They create problems where there are none. They start fights for no reason. I've come to realize it's because peace actually makes them feel uncomfortable. So they only know how to destroy that. And I've realized you can't fix that. So that's hard for a solutions oriented woman. But I'm like, I'm out. You do you. This ain't for me.
Do you feel like with this journey that you've come out the other side of something?
I think I've come out of many things, but probably could speak to a couple of the bigger things, which is I've definitely come out the other side of reactivity because I've experienced the worst of what reactivity has to offer and the impact that that has on me, my life, my founder experience, and my team as well. And a lot of my reactivity, when you hear the word reactivity, sometimes people might have a negative connotation with that. My worst reactivity is so well intended. It's usually because I'm trying to do the best thing possible for a person, which leads to the worst possible outcome. It's like, I don't know, the people who just feel compelled to pick up a hitchhiker or something,
Yeah.
like they want to
Yeah.
do good and then next minute,
Yeah.
so that would be me. I've just had to overcome that as a founder. And I can think back to one particular example, and I'm not going to go into details about this one. It's just a little too private, even for a podcast, absolutely. So I'm protecting my peace and
Mm.
choosing calm over chaos here. But I just wanted to give an example for other founders. And I shared this in greater detail at our recent comeback conference, knowing that I also shared with everyone you're not to share this to the media. So I had that little disclaimer there. I sort of remember a few years, like many years back, my, I guess, hitchhiker state of mind, like picking up hitchhiker state of mind, meant that I was picking up phone calls at like 10 p.m. at night from team, just thinking, oh God, it's 10 p.m. This must be urgent. I better answer.
Mm.
And I just think, well, I should treat myself like an employee. I've got my husband works in work cover. Like that's a work cover claim to be called at 10 p.m. for
Yeah.
a non-emergency, right? So on this particular evening, I picked up the call. It was after 10. In their mind, it was urgent. For me, it wasn't. And I shouldn't have picked up the phone. And I'm not going to go into any details, but just to answer your question, Steph, these days, I will never pick up a call at 10 o'clock ever again. I just don't think anything is urgent enough to do that. And if it really was, I imagine I'd get a text-based update that I could probably screen / do I really want to? Because again, without going into too much detail, that 10 p.m. phone call changed my life for the worst
Mm.
for a pretty long period there, to be so honest with you, and really negative impacts on my family. And I had to spend a lot of time, I guess, away from my family to really reflect on my reactivity and what sort of landed me there. And I was grateful for that, to just sit in peace and have to sort of ask myself hard questions around why did you feel like you needed to pick up that phone at that
Mm.
time of night and solve a problem for someone beyond what any CEO's role is to do, and so on. And so yeah, I guess I realized through all of that, it's not that I'm addicted to chaos. I don't put myself in that category. It's actually the opposite. I still will say I seem to be too reactive as a leader. So I've come out the other side of that, but it's an ongoing journey and an ongoing decision to make. But also, this is a sadder realization that I could be exploited for my brain. So hear
Mm.
me out. Like I am wired for solutions orientation by neurotype. My brain's also a fast thinking one. When there's a problem, my brain immediately wants to fix it. It's an autistic way of being for me. That's, at least I can only say that that's my lived experience as an autistic woman. And unfortunately for me, the wrong people will exploit that because they'll realize I'm fast thinking, solutions oriented, and I want to get to a fix really quickly.
Mm.
So they benefit from someone else solving the problems, for them. And that's popped up a lot in my life, So I think that and that alone has felt like really coming out on the other side in such a huge way.
So, what about maybe a habit that you feel like you have been able to completely shake post tunnel of shit days?
It's a really interesting question, Steph. And actually, had to shift up my answer before we hit record on this one because I was actually in a sales call this morning before we rolled into the studio.
The
Studio.
studio. I'm like, Cherie, the cameras are on. They know we're not in the studio.
They're going to figure out on YouTube that.
Full episodes on YouTube, by the way, guys.
I mean, on podcast recording days, this is a studio. Any normal day at TDP offices, this is our red sofa. But yeah, before I got into this studio,
Yeah.
your set,
Yeah.
I was on a sales call with a really interesting brand. Actually, I'll tell you all about it later.
Please.
And while we were waiting for one or two more people to join the call, I was having a conversation with someone about how your early days working gigs kind of really shape you. So I was a Macca's kid.
Same.
Yeah, we have the same beeping at night.
Yes.
My Macca's days, we were always taught, I don't know if this came through for you as well, you got to be there 15 minutes early. And if
Right.
you're not, that's considered late. But that messed me up so much that now, Steph, unfortunately for my two long suffering children, I get to everything 15 minutes earlier than the 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It is a sickness. And McDonald's, kind of, shaped that habit. Like, let's fast track to my early days copywriting, and I'm working for two, like one after the other, but in consecutive order, two of Australia's largest online publications. Really intense environments to the point where you actually had to put an out of office on your emails when you stepped away from your desk to go to the bathroom.
Oh my
Yep.
word.
Yep. I know.
Wow.
I wish you could all see Steph's face, like her
We'll
eyes.
clip it up.
And oh man, that's some fake urgency. You know what I mean?
Yeah, wow.
And especially for a woman with endo, like I can't guarantee that I'm just going to have a 2-minute bathroom visit. Like sometimes it can be a whole ordeal, in that bathroom. And so that really shaped me as well to be a very reactive human being, because I just thought, I can't even switch up a sanitary pad situation for myself without this feeling like an emergency slash fake urgency, because I've had to put an out of office on my emails to say, hi, I've stepped away from my desk for 5 minutes. I'll be back soon. Like, how infantilizing. So yeah, that really shaped me as well. And I would say I'm 43 now. Don't worry, it's not my birthday today.
Thank goodness.
It takes a long time to shake off that fake urgency. It just kind of molded me in my really early years of trying to be a professional woman. So these days, I no longer respond quickly. I choose not to respond quickly and instead to respond well. That's like every day I'm like, quick is shit, well is just well,
Yeah.
I actively listen. Really, I hope this episode doesn't sound like I'm pumping myself up, but I'm just sharing what I'm really proud to have got to as I guess this point in my journey. But I'm a really active listener. I ask the right questions as recently as, I don't know, a few months back, I guess now, where a particular client, we had been on probably a 5-year journey with them. And I just wanted to ask them, hey, it's been 5 years. Do you want this working relationship to continue? Because we were just getting to a weird little spot. And so I just wanted to ask really honest questions as a non reactive, non chaos, like just, I want to hear you. And it turned out they did. Actually, they just needed me to show up really honestly and in a non reactive way in that moment. And they even sent an email prior saying they were feeling a bit nervous about that meeting. I'm like, nervous? Like, I'm the agency. I'm the one who's meant to be nervous.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be nervous about here, So that 5-year relationship, kind of continues. But I would say that's one of the best meetings we've actually had with them, because I said, do you want to work together on an ongoing basis? Because you can dip if you don't. Like, I needed them to hear, we're not that agency that is retention at all costs. I would say as well, another flex. Lately, I have like a little chat GPT thread going with myself, and it really helps me with this, I would say, most annoying thing about myself, which is the neurodivergent urge to over explain.
Mm.
Yep. So I'll throw something into that thread and just say, this is how I'd love to respond as an over explainy autistic woman. And then it usually says, calm your farm, strip that bad boy back, and get bloody serious if you want to be taken seriously.
You've also told me that you developed another habit that had a really significant impact as well.
Yes, I have had a really big impact as well. And it was this moment where I realized, I think I just read one of those viral leadership quotes on Instagram. I'm embarrassed to even admit what the account was. It was like borderline bro. And it was something like, and I do agree with this, it was like the CEO of Apple now, maybe, where he was like, businesses don't go out of business because they run out of money. They actually go out of business when the founder runs out of energy.
Yeah.
And so that was a real moment for me. I think it should be a moment for anyone to listen to that and just, you've all seen the quote. It goes viral every 2 months on Instagram. So this is nothing like revolutionary or anything, but that one just kind of keeps me coming back to knowing how important my energy is, and so I protect it at all costs. And so that's actually one really big habit that I've built in. So I actually protect my energy now like it's our revenue at
Mm.
TDP, because it is.
Yeah.
I guess to break away even further from that, I actually made my own energy a KPI that I had to hit on my job description.
I love
Yep.
that. Right.
Yep. because I also just know how expensive it is for this business when I run out of energy, you know? And then the second thing I would say, another habit that I've probably always floated around knowing how important it is in my own personal life, but it's honoring, and I've spoken about this on, honestly, other episodes, but honoring how important creator mode is instead of victim mode. Do you want to be the victim of your own business or the creator of it? And so I ask myself this all the time. I'm like, am I being a bit of a victim here? Like, why does this keep happening to me? And it's more like, no, no. How do I create my way out of whatever scenario I'm not particularly liking for myself? I do just want to say though, on the victim mode, creator mode thing, I really need to hold a space for like genuine victims. There are things that can happen in your life that you're a genuine victim of. And I don't want to like diminish anyone's experiences there because, I'm not going to go into it in too much detail in this episode, or I don't even know if any, but, I had a really tough first 5 years where I could easily say I was the victim of some, genuinely horrific things. But I'm just talking more like it's just a job. It's not that deep
Yeah.
type stuff. Yeah, they would be the big changes for me and the bigger habits with the biggest impacts. And so I often, Dave and I, we just, I think it's like a Family Guy quote or something. It's like, it's a lifestyle, Brian. I don't know where that is from. I don't
Yeah,
watch the
that sounds
TV.
like Stewie,
Okay.
the baby.
Yes, got it. Those two things that I've just spoken about, they're a lifestyle.
Mm.
Creator mode is a lifestyle and energy preservation is a lifestyle.
It's funny because ever since you've been talking about creator mode and victor mode, which I feel like it's probably since I started TDP, but we've been speaking a lot about it since doing the podcast.
Yes.
And you said to me, once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. It's
Yep.
almost frustrating
I
how much when you see it,
I know.
it's so hard to ignore it. And
Yep.
if anyone's watched How I Met Your Mother, they have this episode about like the glass shattering.
Yep.
And it's
Another
about like
one.
when you date someone and once you notice a certain quality about them, it's kind of like our version of the
Yep.
ick nowadays. It's like once you
Yes.
notice it, you can't unnotice it. And it's incredible, yeah, when you do start picking it up and you'll just be listening to someone speak to you and you're like, oh,
What a
victim mode. Yeah.
victim. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's so true, isn't it? Like, yeah, and that's an ick for me actually.
Mm.
Too much victim mode talk is a bit of an ick. I'm not here at TDP. If someone's gone victim mode, it's my job or their leader's job, their direct manager to coach them out of that. I don't let that become an ick. But yeah, Steph, like in my day-to-day life, I'm just like, oh, it's like when you ask someone, hey, how's your day? Oh, well. And then
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, come on.
What about any habits that you've developed that maybe people wouldn't be able to see from the outside looking in?
Yeah, this one, I feel most proud of this actually. I love when you change things up so much that people can't even recognize it from the outside looking in, but I can feel it. That's all that matters. I don't need to prove myself anymore. So I would say I've definitely hit my quiet confidence era and I'm really proud to have finally arrived. I don't need validation anymore, especially external, which is a big thing for someone who works in marketing where we get validated with every single piece of content that we share online kind of instantly, for our clients, for our own content, things like that. I could not care less anymore. I just don't need that. I no longer react to noise. I say noise in inverted commas. I'm not talking literal noise, although I would also react to that as an autistic woman, but I'm talking like the distracty stuff that's just a waste of your time. I know my lane. I really do, know my lane. And I find that I don't need to prove anything anymore. Instead, I just focus on protecting rather than proving.
How do you protect your energy now in comparison to earlier in your career?
Oh, it's so different. Bit of a boundaried queen now.
Yeah.
I've got really strict calendar boundaries. A lot of them I can't even take credit for. I'm only more empowered because of the 5'2" powerhouse by my side, not even behind me. She's by my side. Her name is Danielle Prince. She's my formidable EA and she's a calendar boss. Like she just knows my calendar so much better than I do. And we have really strict calendar boundaries. We also, Danny and I, noticed that I drown in requests for free. It sucks. It's the worst thing about being a disabled founder in that people just exploit me. They really do. They just exploit marginalized folk, I've noticed. And they really just hold me to that bullshit tagline of allegedly nicest place on the internet. So, they think that they're just one person, but they don't understand there's 70 DMs in 1 week asking if they could buy me a coffee. I don't drink coffee. And I also don't have time or energy to have my brain intensely picked. And so Danny really protects me from that as well. In fact, she gets insulted on behalf of me because she sees every single request. And so she really protects. So for that reason, I lean on her really heavily. I'm also really careful about who gets access to me. I'm really strategic about where I place my focus. It's coming back to that energy KPI, to be really honest. I'm really sorry. No, I'm not sorry to say this actually. I'm going to rephrase that and say I'm proud to share this. I have got zero fucking tolerance for team escalating a problem to me without coming with 3 solutions attached to it.
Nice.
I'm like, oh, come on, just pretend to try.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
They don't have to be right. None of those solutions have to be right. I couldn't give a shit about whether they're the right solutions or not. I just need to know that someone's given enough of a fuck
Mhm.
to just have a crack before bringing the problem to me to solve,
Yeah.
So that's something I'm really like crystal clear on now. If someone escalates something to me and there's not even like a half-baked solution, I'm like, try that one again, bruh.
You know what it's like? Sorry if this is too niche, but it's
No.
like you're doing your math test and you remember you used to get marks for your working, and if you
Working
didn't
out.
show you working out, then you don't get the extra
So
marks. It's
true.
like,
That's
show
the
us how you did it, how you
oh,
got there.
spot the woman partnered up with a teacher.
Yeah.
That is exactly it. Just show me you working out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I kind of deem it. I don't like to use the word lazy because that's quite a triggering word for neurodivergent people, but I can't think of another word. Like just escalating something so reactively themselves without any solutions, or working out being demonstrated. I'm like, this feels a bit lazy,
Mm.
and I just feel a bit disrespected in this moment. So I'll push back straight away,
Yeah.
proudly so. Never, it's done kindly and it's with their growth in mind,
Yeah.
So I've also had really incredible conversations with my incredible EA, Danny. I had to tell her, like, hey, I don't need to know everything. I trust you.
Mm.
And that was such a breakthrough. That was like the absolute betterment of our working relationship because I honestly needed her to know that I completely trust her to put out fires without my even needing to hear about it. And if anything, hearing about every fire that she's put out messes with my energy.
She's the best. Shout out,
She
Jenny.
is the best.
Okay, so what does a good day look like for you now?
Yeah. Okay. So a good day for me now looks like me being less involved in the day to day. I like to go bigger picture now. That's my happiest state. I do not need to be in everything. I don't even want to be, and I couldn't be now. The size of our business, I just can't be in every meeting or decision or proofreading, whatever, right? So it's just not going to be like that. So for that reason, I let my team lead. I let them fail. I celebrate that. Well, we have even failure awards called Flirning. So learning from fail. I want folks to learn and flirn. And I'm just into trust now more than I am control.
And are there any other ways that your role has changed now that the business has changed so much and grown as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, shifted from being the person doing the work to, and I say this really proudly, being the person designing the environment, and I hope good environment where people can do their best work,
Mm.
So I tell everyone on team clarity is honestly not my agency strength. I rely on really strong operations folk to interpret my visionary ways of moving and being and do the best thing for it. But I do try so hard to honor the clarity piece given the industry that I'm in and how important that is. I set the direction, I protect the standard, and I think I was reminded of how important this is and how proud this work is now when more recently we had a team member resign after a lengthy period of time at the digital picnic, and our client obviously felt, no, And I said, hey, this is a good thing. Like I wanted to pass on my non-reactivity to them as well and help them get to a calm, regulated spot with that. And they got a little bit like, oh, I'm nervous. And they said, can you just guarantee me that there'll be no other changes after this? And I said, I can't.
Mm.
That would be absolutely dishonest for me to do that. I said, but what I can promise you is that everyone you will work with during your partnership with the digital picnic will be a kind genius. And if they don't fit that bill, you probably wouldn't meet them because we probably wouldn't have them pass a probationary period. In fact, not probably. We won't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's my job to protect the standard now. And I can really proudly, as a result, say to clients, can't guarantee you forever attention. That's ridiculous, But what I can guarantee is you will always work with kind genius, and that's a proud statement for me to make. So I am less involved in the day to day. It doesn't mean that I care less. It actually means that I'm trusting myself and everyone around us more.
What about what leadership feels like to you now compared to what it felt like in the earlier years?
Well, I don't want to sing, but if there was a TikTok audio, it just reminds me this journey that I've been on. I think I would be sounding like that Olivia Rodrigo trending Once Upon a Time audio where it starts out where she's like, oh my God. And then it flicks to all the time. I'm grateful. Sorry you had to hear that. You
I'm
are
like, I'll
welcome.
just let you go.
You're watching, honestly, for anyone who's listening to this, Jeff was like, oh, she's still going. It's the only audio I can think of. Like I've just gone from to I'm grateful all the time.
I did know the one.
Yeah. But you just wanted to watch me
I had to
singing it.
watch, yeah.
Thanks. So I feel like that's been my journey, So it was loud. Now it's
Mm,
quiet. I would say not even loud. It was screamy at times, like not me screaming, but it just felt screamy in my head.
mm.
I am not easily pulled into noise at all. I'm a bit of a Killian Murphy. Like I just sometimes feel like, and the team would say this, and I think they like it about me, but they're just like, oh, I think I just tried to pull you into a fake crisis, didn't I? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm just not dragged into noise very easily or even at all. I can see things more clearly. I won't sing to you again. The rain has gone. I don't feel the same pressure, honestly, to prove myself in every single moment. And I trust myself more. More recently, we had, it was probably that same person. It was a long term tenure. They resigned. I was really happy for them. Always want someone to chase something better for themselves. We just had this moment where we got to say, what do we want to do next with this role? Because actually, when they resigned, it was at a point where I was actually thinking, this role could use a big JD update. I felt like we've grown so much that the JD no longer reflected like a lot of that. So I was probably going to do a bit of a big update with that anyway. And so I said to the team, and I was really proud of this non-reactivity when they resigned, I said, I'm not going to immediately fill this one. I need to take my time. I need to figure out what this role looks like more honestly moving forward. And I landed on that. And I felt really proud because it did impact one person more heavily than others in that a particular departmental lead would have to start reporting through to me instead of that particular title for however long it took me to find the right JD for that role and then the right person. But they're really happy now. And we've
Mm.
got someone in the role and it is so early days, but already that departmental lead is like, I think they even said to me as recently as yesterday, you did a goods.
Yeah.
And so that was that moment for me where I was like, I love how non-reactive I am now. Like it's just the team sometimes wouldn't even know, but it really can be the thing that gets us to a much better decision rather than a reactive one. So I think in my early days, leadership felt more like performance, whereas now it feels like something I get to hold, which I feel really proud to hold actually.
Do you think people have a bit of a misconception about what it means to have quote unquote made it?
Yes, they definitely do. I think if we were speaking to this particular topic and like making it with regards to this topic, I think people think that it's this like it's a destination, and once you've
Mm.
arrived, you've made it. Sorry to break it to everyone, but when you make it to this particular destination, it doesn't get easier at all. In fact, it's a lot harder. It gets so much harder because you're growing and your leadership is developing, and suddenly you're taking on much bigger challenges. I don't want to give a comparison to motherhood here, and I especially want anyone who's got really young children to close their ears because everyone talks about, oh my gosh, newborn baby, this is so hard, this is so hard. And yes, physically, it really is. Hate to break it. It gets so much more
Oh,
challenging.
no.
She said it. It's just a different kind of challenge, but it often reminds me. And look, I'm so down for people to slide into our DMs and passionately disagree. And maybe I'm coming from the lived experience of raising neurodivergent kids, but I've actually found, yeah, it's harder at teenager levels. It's full on. And so the same applies to leadership, Steph. Like, I've just found that never treat this like a destination where you arrive and suddenly you've made it. Because you'll find really surprisingly that when you arrive at the destination and you think you've made it, it's about to get even harder.
Mm.
But the difference is you'll find it easier to navigate the hard because you've built the acumen to be able to do that. So same as parenting. So that's why I just want to restore, like, if you're still closing your ears or you actually haven't just um, decided no more, I can't listen to this episode. For our parents, I'm going to say that's the easier part with teenagers, is that you are ready. You just get more comfortable making decisions without certainty. That's the biggest thing I've noticed, Steph. Also, I'm going to say really proudly, I'm actually no longer scared to tell people, I don't know. You know, when I just am over the ego days of thinking that I had to have the answer for everything. What a stupid amount of pressure to put on one person. I don't know all the
Mm.
time, you know, and I'm really proud to tell people that I don't know the answer to that, but I'll do my best to find out, or there'll be someone on my team who'd probably have a better chance of answering that well for you. So I would say early on you're chasing growth, you know,
Mm.
but later you're protecting it. And those two things that I've just mentioned there, they require completely different versions of yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this episode has obviously been a lot about island life,
Yes.
but if there are people listening that feel like they're still in their climb, what are those habits that they can take from this episode and walk away with and start implementing early? So
Yeah.
maybe that tunnel of shit isn't as long.
Yes, absolutely. So, oh my gosh, I could write the book on this one.
Yeah.
So instead I got a little romantic on this, if you don't
Oh,
mind.
okay. Yeah.
I wanted to just almost write like a bit of a love letter to people who might be listening to the podcast. And I've made the love letter, but it's like a list. So I will read some of that out. So I would say to anyone listening, you know, who's in that phase right now, I would say if you can learn to pause in the chaos, you'll be able to lead in the calm. That's my favorite thing that I've learned. Just pausing in chaos has had me leading so well in calm. The next thing, don't respond immediately. Let things sit before acting. Protect your energy like it's revenue. That's probably my favorite one. Don't insert yourself into everything. Ask better questions instead of giving faster answers. Don't chase every idea. Normalize not knowing immediately. Separate emotion from decision. Revisit decisions instead of defending them. Like, it's such an egotistical thing to defend something that just doesn't even make sense anyway. Like, you deep down, you know, when you fight with someone and you know halfway through the fight, what am I doing?
Damn it.
So yeah, just, you know, let go of that. Don't confuse urgency with importance. Let silence do some of the work. Some of the folks that I've worked with the lowest self-esteem just cannot sit in comfortable silence, and it's actually uncomfortable for me to watch people do that. It's like, just let it be silent for a bit. This isn't a Zoom call in 2020. We can fill silence with silence, you know. Hold boundaries without over explaining them has been a really big one for me. Don't take everything personally, and you don't need to be the smartest person in the room.
Love those.
Yep.
What's something that you do now that would have felt impossible at an earlier stage in your career?
I know this without even having to look at any notes that I've written. I have finally got to a point with, thanks to Danny Prince, our icon, hero, maven, all of the above, but I actually build time into my calendar to be able to freaking think. Wednesdays, I try my hardest to block that for TDP content because it's an autistic spin, special interest of mine. I love collaborating with you, Steph, on our content. It's like some of my favorite work to do, and I look forward to Wednesdays. And if someone creeps into that and takes my time on a Wednesday, I'm like, motherfucker.
And we have laughed
Yes.
before when we'll have a meeting on a Monday and Cherie will go, yep, I'll get to that Wednesday. And
Yep.
then Wednesday she'll slide into my Slack DMs and she goes, I don't know what to tell you, but
Jinxed
yeah.
myself
She's like,
big
I
time.
can't believe I thought we were going to get away with this.
Literally, I just love when that Wednesday block stays as a Wednesday block. And anyone who creeps into that, I'm like, you'd really want to be making
Yeah.
sure you're creeping in for the right reasons.
The big things, yeah.
Yep. And then Friday, and this isn't just for me, but we try to keep this to be the case for the team as well. It's Focus Fridays. So we don't have any internal meetings. We're not on Slack. And we're just like leading in and getting the work done. I mean, we tried at the beginning with this to say, oh, no Slack at all. But some people actually, that was actually really anxiety inducing because they just needed an answer to a question. So now we're like, all right, we'll send the message. But if you don't get a response, it's because it's Focus Friday and you just got to kind of wait a little bit longer or shoot off a WhatsApp if you really need something more urgent. So I love now that I have thinking time and doing time. And I would have said, oh, to know that that comes twice a week for me now when some of my other, you work like right in front of my office. You see it. My Mondays and my Thursdays, those days are stacked, but good stacked. It's like big, important business, needle moving business meetings and so on, or my one-to-ones on Thursdays, which I love all of that, but only because I'm really strict on my Wednesdays and Fridays. So yeah.
Amazing. I feel like there's so many great takeaways, and hopefully this feels like a well-rounded out episode to 1 and 2.
Yes.
And that island life can be pretty good when you put the right habits in place. I guess it's a continual practice, right? It's not just a one and done. You got to keep up with those self-care
It's a lifestyle,
practices.
Brian.
Yeah. What a way to finish. All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Climb with Cherie Clonan and Steph Clifford. Here's to growth, grit, and bloody good stories. Every Sunday, my husband and I sit down for a money chat. I know that's not sexy, but it's been wildly useful.
No, I actually love that because I feel like I'm at the age where I'm like, okay, I need to stop guessing where my money's going.
Yes, and that's exactly where PocketSmith helps. You can track what you spend and earn, categorize and label spending, set up budgets, and view your finances in a calendar and actually forecast your cash flow up to 60 years into the future. And for neurodivergent brains, that flexibility matters. Sometimes you don't need more willpower. You need a system that makes the information easier to see.
So whatever your goals, like saving, paying things down, or just trying not to spend your whole salary on takeaway, PocketSmith allows you to easily track and measure your money and get to enjoy the process of building toward your financial goals.
If you'd like to manage your money like a pro, PocketSmith has a special deal for the Climb listeners. Get 50% off your first 2 months of PocketSmith's foundation plan. To get your deal, go to pocketsmith.com/the-climb-podcast. See our show notes for more details.